Hi guys. Okay, so last time we did a pretty good job of looking at the root notes. We talked a little bit about bar chords, obviously, but focusing on the first fret to the fifth fret and just finding the notes that exist between the sixth string and the fifth string. We're pretty good with that, I think. If you've spent some time on it, obviously we're understanding that the root notes that we're looking at are F, G, A, B, C, and D. If you noticed in the diagram from the last lesson, we moved around kind of in 2-fret increments, except for B and C, of course. We need to be able to kind of make it more refined. We need to be able to go between sort of these half steps or these single fret ones. And because going from natural notes, with the exception of 2 instances, we're moving in 2-fret increments, we also need to be able to demonstrate the movement between 1 fret and the next fret chromatically, which means like 1 semitone at a time, or in our case 1 fret at a time. So in order to do that, in order to show you where those locations are, we have to use what are called sharps and flats. Now we're going to look at sharps right now. If you see the grid that I have up, what we're doing is we're basically, anytime we have a sharp, we're adding 1 fret. Okay, so the sharp sign kind of looks like a number sign. I sometimes, when I was first learning it, I tried to make me think that it was like a plus sign. Okay, because when you're sharping stuff, what you're really doing is you're adding 1 fret on the guitar. So my F would be on the first fret. If I wanted an F sharp, well, I just go F plus 1 fret. So instead of it being on the first fret, it's now first plus 1. It's now on the second fret. Okay, if I have my C here, and it's asking me to do a C sharp root, well, I'm going to go C plus 1. There's my C sharp. Okay. Now there are instances where you're going to have 2 names for the same location, and we'll talk about that as well when we're looking at flats. But what I wanted to show you is, okay, well, my C is right here, my B is right here, but if I wanted to do a B sharp, well, then I'm going B plus 1, and that would be a B sharp. Now that's going to cause some confusion for some people out there, because they're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, we just said that was a C. Well, you know what? Sometimes you're going to run into certain chord progressions where you may overlap with names. Okay, I believe the terminology for that is called enharmonic equivalence. It's like the same spot, the same tone, with 2 different names attached to it. Okay, so I mean, I always tell people it's like calling someone Bob or Robert. I mean, it's the same guy, but you know, 2 different ways of calling the same person. Well, we've got more than 2 different ways of naming the same note or the same pitch, and that's fine. Okay, because a lot of times what you're going to run into when you're playing a song is you're usually going to be dealing with chords that are all sharped or have sharped chords in them, or you're going to have a song or a progression that has only flatted roots in them. Okay, so very rarely do they combine them. Okay, very rarely do you see crashing notes of the same root or the same sound but different roots, okay, existing in the same progression. It just doesn't happen very often unless you're like a guru or something, and you know what? That's amazing. Good for you if you're doing that. But for learning, you know, you're going to run into, most of the time, it's either sharp roots or flat roots, and not necessarily a combination of both. Or natural, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, all right, so we talked about being plus 1. So again, if my C is a C sharp, I'm going to find my C location, plus 1, I'm going to move it from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret. Okay, so I've got another grid up here. Okay, basically the same grid that we looked at before, but now they're all having sharp accidentals attached to them. Okay, so if you're looking up at the top row there, we've got F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B sharp. So why don't we try that together? Okay, so we're going to do like what we did last time. We're going to play for a count of 4, and we're going to break for a count of 4. During that break, we're going to grab the root of the next, well, we're just going to grab the next root. Okay, so here we go, up on F sharp. Okay, so remember F plus 1. So 1, 2, ready, play. 1, 2, Thinking about that G sharp coming up. 1, 2, ready, go. Thinking about that A sharp coming up, 5th fret plus 1. 1, 2, ready, go. Thinking about that B sharp coming up. 1, 2, ready, go. 2, 3, 4, rest. 2, 3, 4. Great. Okay, so walked through that F sharp, that G sharp, that A sharp, and that B sharp. All right, let's do. Why don't we do a column? Okay, so let's take the. Let's do the second column. So we've got our G sharp, a D sharp, our B sharp, and back to our G sharp again. So let's give him a try. Ready? So remember, G sharp is G, which is on the 3rd fret, plus 1. So now we're on the 4th fret when we're thinking about G sharp. So let's give him a try. Ready? 2, 3, go. 1. Thinking about that D sharp coming up. 1, 2, ready, go. Thinking about that B sharp coming up. 1, 2, ready, go. Thinking about that G sharp again. 4, 1, 2, ready, go. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Good. All right, so that's how we're walking through the grids using sharps. Okay, so if you want to pause this video so that you can see the grid and go through using columns and rows, again, don't memorize the order in which these root notes occur. What I want you to do is try it in different ways. So, try reading it backwards instead of forwards, and maybe go every other root note on a row or a column. But just try it in different ways so that you're not memorizing the root notes themselves or the order in which you're doing it, but you're constantly recalling where those root locations are. Okay, so the next section involves flats. So just like the sharps add a fret, the flats are going to go backwards. They're going to subtract a fret. So if my A here is on the 5th fret, my A flat is going to be A subtract 1. So now my A flat is the 4th fret. Okay. Likewise my B. Okay, my B right here is on the 2nd fret. If I'm flatting that B, I'm subtracting a fret. So I'm going to go B, which is on the 2nd fret, subtract 1. There's my B flat right there. Okay, so just like the sharps move in this direction, adding frets, the flats are going in the opposite direction, subtracting frets. Now, I don't have anything tricky to remember about flats. I guess unless you want to think of like the minus sign, the subtraction sign, it's a flat little dash. So I mean, you can think of it that way, but just remember, when you're flatting, you're subtracting. Okay, you're removing a fret. Okay, so I changed up the grid here using flats only because we're not subtracting 1 from F. I don't want to go into the open string area because we're really talking about bar chords. We're not talking about open chords. So this grid has no F in it, so just keep that in mind. So let's take a look at this grid here. We're going to go down the first column. Okay, so if we're looking at columns here, our notes are G flat, D flat, C flat, and B flat. Okay, so remember how we talked about that B and C area there? So if I have a C and I want to make it a C flat, I'm subtracting 1. Okay, even though that we've already learned that this root location is a natural B, it's still a C flat. Okay, so two different names, again, Bob and Robert, right? Okay, two different names for the same sound, the same frequency, if you will. Okay, so let's find these root notes first. So G is 3rd fret, subtract 1, that's our G flat. Okay, our D flat, well, D is on the 5th fret, we're going to subtract 1 from him, so on the 4th fret there. C flat, well, C is sitting there on the 3rd, we're going to go back 1, subtract 1, there's our C flat. And then B flat, well, that's pretty easy because we're sitting on our natural B location. We're going to move him back 1 fret. There's our B flat. Okay, so again with our on 4, off 4, we're going to go through each one of these in this first column. Okay, so here we go. We're starting on G flat. Ready? 2, 3, 4. Thinking about that D flat coming up. Ready, 2, 3, 4. Thinking about that C flat. Remember, 3rd fret minus 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. B flat coming up. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Okay. So again, pause the video and use this grid. Do it in columns, do it in rows, forwards and backwards. Again, don't memorize the order of the root notes. We just want to constantly be re-emphasizing the location. All right, so once you've got that down, then the last grid is pretty big. Okay, we're combining sharps and flats, so we've now got a huge 5x5 grid. Well, I guess it's not huge, but anyways, we're using sharps and flats. Okay, so basically covering all the ground here. So let's, well, I'm kind of big on columns here, so why don't we take that first column. If we look down here, so now we've got 5 notes instead of 4 from the older grids. So in that first column, we're going to go from F sharp to C sharp to A, back to F sharp, and then to G flat. So let's find these root locations first, and then we'll walk through it doing an on 4, off 4. Okay, so F sharp, F plus 1. Remember, we're doing a plus. We're adding a fret when we sharp it. There's our F sharp. C sharp. Okay, C was on the 3rd fret. We're going to move that C plus 1. Okay, so from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret. There's our C sharp. Okay. A is just an A natural, so we don't have to do anything to him. So he naturally exists right there on the 5th fret. Good. Okay, we're going back to an F sharp for the 4th note. Remember, 1st fret plus 1. F is on the 1st fret, F for 1st fret. Okay, so now we're on F sharp, so 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. Here's a weird one though. Okay, G flat. So our G, which is normally on the 3rd fret, and we're subtracting 1, G flat. So that's kind of weird because we've got the F sharp going into the 2nd fret, remember, at 1 plus 1, and then we've got the G flat going into the 2nd fret because it's the 3rd fret, subtract 1. And that's totally fine. We're just, again, learning different naming conventions for the same location, and that's going to happen. All right, so let's go ahead and do our on 4, off 4 for this column together. Here we go. Ready on F sharp, 2, 3, 4. 2. Thinking about that C sharp coming up, so it's C plus 1, 2. Ready, go. Thinking about that A natural, he's just going to go on the 5th fret. 1, 2, ready, go. Thinking about that F sharp, remember, 1st fret plus 1. 1, 2, ready, go. Now thinking about that G flat, same location, different approach. 1, 2, ready, go. That's awesome. Okay, so we're really going great with these root locations and doing our sharps and flats. Let's do one more column, okay, and we'll call it a day for this. So let's do the 2nd column. So in the 2nd column, we've got more naturals here. So we've got a G natural on the 3rd fret. Okay. We've got our D, which is up here on the 5th fret. Now you're hearing me say natural. Natural means there's no sharps or flats. Okay, so we have naturals, we have sharps, and we have flats. And those are the most common conventions when we're talking about any alterations or no alterations at all. Okay, so our second root here, we were in the 2nd column, we're on D. Okay, the 3rd note in is B flat, so we're taking our B, which is normally on the 2nd fret, we're subtracting a fret, moving it down to the 1st fret. There's our B flat. Okay, A sharp. Now we could stay here because we've got an open A, but again we're talking about the grid that we were looking at. So our A is our A is normally here on the 5th fret. We're going to go plus 1 and play it up on the 6th fret. Kind of really stretching things out here now. Okay, good. So now we're going to go from the A sharp to the B sharp. So our B was naturally located here on the 2nd fret. We're going to crank it up 1 fret. Remember, this was also called C, but because we're altering the B, we're using that B as a reference, as a guide. So we're B plus 1, B sharp. Excellent. Okay, so let's give this column a try. Here we go. Ready on G, 3rd fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. So thinking about that D coming up. Ready, 2, 3, 4. B flat coming up, so that's the 2nd fret minus 1. Ready, 2, 3, 4. A sharp, remember A is on the 5th fret and we're going to go plus 1. 2, 3, 4. B sharp. Ready, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, and we're done. Good. So did you hear something? Did you hear that that A sharp? And then we heard that B flat. Actually, the B flat came first. But you are going to run into notes that sound the same. Okay? But you know what? That's still an A sharp. And that's still a B flat. Because we're talking about what we did to alter to make that sound. Okay? Because we added 1 to that A and we subtracted 1 to that B. So you can use different names. Okay, but please, when you're writing your own chords down, try to commit to either flats or sharps. Don't try to combine them. It makes it really hard to read. Again, you don't see it very often, so you know, when you're writing your own stuff, we'll talk a little bit more about the reasonings behind that too, but from a purely aesthetic point of view, yeah, we don't like to mix sharps and flats too much in the same chord progression. Alright, so hopefully that's helped. We're going to talk about real chords next time, and just practice away. I hope you're enjoying the lessons. Okay, talk to you later.